All right, so if you saw the title of the video, you're probably thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? Well, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier happened last Saturday. And after the fight, there's been a very interesting narrative. The narrative pretty much is that the fight was boring. But not only are people saying the fight was boring, people are specifically blaming Israel for the fight being boring. And this is something that I personally find to be very interesting. A lot of times when a fight is boring, not both fighters get blamed. A lot of times it's just one fighter that gets blamed for the fight being boring. And a lot of times it's the fighter that's better. It's the fighter that's expected to win the match that ends up getting blamed for the whole entire fight being boring. And I always find that to be very interesting because, as we all know, for a fight to happen, you need at least two people. I mean, I guess you could fight yourself, but for an actual fight to happen, you need at least two people. As they say, it takes two to tango. The only situation where I personally find it appropriate to blame one person for a fight being boring is if the fighter in question is a grappler, right? Like if the person is a dominant grappler, and their opponent is really trying to push the pace, they're trying to be aggressive, but the other guy is able to consistently bring the fight to the ground. And then when he brings the fight to the ground, he doesn't really do anything in terms of passing the guard or, looking for solid ground and pound or looking for submissions. Instead, he's mostly just holding on and like hugging. If something like that happens, then I can understand you saying, I blame this one fighter for the fight being boring. But in a situation like Izzy, where they're both strikers, the fight mostly was contested on the feet. It's so odd for people to just blame Israel for it. Now, I understand what everyone's saying. I get it. Izzy is supposed to be the better striker. He's supposed to be the more experienced striker. So why isn't he pushing the pace? Why isn't he doing more? Why isn't he taking more risks? That's the word people are using. Why is it that Israel, because he's the better fighter, why is he not taking more risks? Find that one really interesting as well, right? And when you really sit down and think about it, find that one really interesting. And when you look at the fight, in my opinion, it wasn't a boring fight. It really wasn't. Now, we're going to get to why I think people are saying the fight is boring. But if you were to look at the fight in itself, like if you just honestly looked at the performance, Israel was pushing the pace. He was the aggressor most of the time. He landed way more. He was more active. Not only was he more active, he was the guy that was really looking to do damage in the fight. Jared Cannonier, on the other hand, was retreating. He was being extremely defensive. He had a lot of respect for Israel, right? Like if you take a look at both of them and you ask yourself, between these two guys, which one of them fought more out of character? You're most likely going to lean more towards Jared Cannonier because we know Jared is being a bit more aggressive than he showed, right? But generally, man, when these guys are in the presence of Israel, they look at him, the moment gets to them or whatever, a lot of times they start to freeze. And we saw some of that with Jared Cannonier. If you look at both of them and you look at their performance, the way they fought, you would be dishonest if you were to say that Israel did not try to push the pace. He did. He really did. Another excuse people are, well, not excuse, another criticism people are throwing at Israel is all he does is throw leg kicks, which is, there's some truth to that. He throws a shitload of leg kicks. But then it leads me to ask, since when do you guys hate leg kicks? You know what I mean? Since when do mixed martial arts fans have an issue with leg kicks, especially considering the fact that Jose Aldo, for the longest time, was known for throwing leg kicks? Go back and watch his fight versus Uriah Faber. Even when he had Uriah on death's door, unable to stand, completely butchered. I mean, this is a fight that a vast majority of mixed martial arts fans hold in extremely high degree. Aldo just kicked his legs the whole entire time, right? So then there's a weird disconnect between those two, right? It's like, since when do you guys not like leg kicks? Like, that's very surprising. What I think is happening is And this is the part where Israel is 100% to blame. Like, if Izzy says something like, you know what, man, a lot of fans don't know what the hell they're looking at. A lot of fans don't understand the intense chess match that goes on when I fight, which is why they're just talking out of their ass. He'll be right, 100%. A lot of fans don't really understand what the hell he's doing in there. He would have every right to say that, and he'll be correct. The one thing he can't say, the one thing he will be wrong if he were to say is, I did not hype the fight up and then not live up. He would be wrong if he said that, because this is where Israel is to blame. Because before the fight, what was he saying? He was saying he was going to make it easy. Yeah. Jared Cannonier is the one that talked about making the fight easy first, and then Israel responded, but he still said it. Israel said, I'm going to make it look easy. He said that multiple times. In every interview, he'll talk about how this was the best camp of his life, how he's feeling dangerous, how he feels like this is going to be just a dominant performance, how he's going to shut everybody up again. You know, he kept saying, y'all must have forgot. He was setting everyone up to witness the sort of performance that he had against Paulo Costa. He referenced the Paulo Costa fight multiple times as well. And so, not just that, it would have been funny if he ended it right there, but no. He walks out to the octagon to the dead man theme, the Undertaker dead man theme. I mean, when you walk out to the octagon to that theme music with the theatrics, you know, the cup and everything, and the hat and the smoke and the lights, everything, the theatrics behind it, people are expecting you not just to put on a good performance, not just to put on a great performance. They're expecting you to put on an exceptionally great performance, because, see, now I gotta watch. Now you're doing too much. Now you're coming out to the octagon to that theme song. You're pretty much telling me you're gonna put your opponent in a freaking casket. You're telling me you're going to beat the bejesus out of this guy. You're going to whoop him. So you're so confident you're going to make this fight look easy that you're coming out to that badass theme song, right? And then when he shows up to the fight and pretty much does what Israel generally does, you know, people are going to be like, yo, what the hell, man? You're giving us blue balls over here, bro. Like, why you gotta hype us up and then not deliver? You know what I mean? Like, man, you know, you can't give us blue balls here. Like, we gotta finish, man. Like, come on, bro, you can't. And that's pretty much what he did, and that's why I think a lot of people are truly upset. I think a lot of people are saying he's boring and they hated the fight because of everything else surrounding it, not necessarily because of the fight itself. The fight just didn't live up to the expectation that Israel himself set up. And he said millions of times he loves putting pressure on himself. I don't know why. I don't know why he wants to put more pressure on himself. The sport that he's in is already full of pressure. You're going to be fighting another man half naked in the octagon, shirtless. You guys are going to punch and kick each other in the face for 25 minutes. In front of millions of people. I don't know how that's not enough pressure. Why put more pressure on yourself? I don't freaking know. Especially when you don't really deliver, right? Like, the way Izzy came out, the sort of fight he should have fought for people to say, okay, that lived up. He should have been swinging, man. Just boom, swinging. He pins like a EA UFC fight, right? EA UFC 4 fight. Pin him against the cage and start ripping combos. Boom, boom, boom. Head kicks, body kicks. It should have been a completely different type of fight, right? He should have been just way over the top with his aggression. But that's not what happened. And a lot of times it doesn't happen like that if the opponent doesn't want it to happen like that, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of difficult to open up an opponent that's shelling up, even if you're one of the absolute best strikers in the whole entire world, man. If somebody does not really want you to hit them and they're shelling up and they're being super passive and they're being very careful and they're being very tight with their defense, it's really tough to open them up. unless you have like unless you start mixing in grappling, that kind of thing. But purely striking, it's really tough, man. Like people were comparing the Israel fight to his teammate Alexander Volkanovski. People were like, "Man, look at what Alexander Volkanovski did, man. Look at the performance Alexander put on." I'm like, "Yeah." You know why his performance was like that? He was fighting Max Holloway. Okay? He was fighting Max Holloway. Have you ever seen Max Holloway in a boring fight? Is it even possible to be in a boring fight with Max Holloway? Max was walking him down the whole entire time. Max was throwing at him. Max was giving him something to work off of. You know, Max was giving him counters all day long. Of course, Volkanovski got to shine. I mean, how do you think it would have gone if Max shelled up and just backed up the whole time? Come on, bro. Of course, Volkanovski would have just kicked his legs like he always does. He was able to put on the solid, brilliant, brutal performance he put on because he had a willing dance partner. Izzy didn't. Like, let's just be real, man. I understand the dude is cringe and he does some annoying shit, but like, you know, just be honest, man. He didn't have a willing dance partner, and if he would have, well, this would have looked a little bit different than it did. I know I'm kind of late talking about this. You know, this happened days ago, and I'm freaking talking about it now. But I just wanted to just hop on. I just got back from jiu-jitsu, and I'm just gonna hop on and just talk about it. It was on my mind. So that's pretty much it. I think Israel got some unfair as well as some very fair criticisms. Fair in the sense that he hyped it up and didn't deliver 100%. Unfair when people say he didn't really push the pace. He did. He tried, but he didn't have a willing dance partner. Okay. Anyways, that is it. If you guys enjoyed the video, just let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Be honest, be real, and I will talk to you guys later. As always, stay safe. Have a good night, boys.